Hello and welcome to Shave&Butcher. It's time for the second video in the how-to series, and the topic today is how to build a lather. Now, building a lather and using different tools and techniques to build a lather is a big part of the joy of traditional wet shaving. If you use a ready foam that comes out of a can, or if you use a shaving gel that you smear onto your face or whatever you're shaving, is okay. It works just fine in terms of performance, in terms of getting the glide you need from a soap in order to shave properly. But traditional shaving is all about building a lather. So lathers can be built in a few different ways, mainly two different ways. One is to build the lather in a bowl, and when the lather is done, you put it on your face and you shave. The other method is to load a brush, coat your face with the soap, and then gradually add water in order to build and make the lather on your face or head or whatever you're shaving. So both methods are fine, and you can alternate between them. There is a third way, which I'll get to in a minute. But if you build the lather in a bowl, you need a brush obviously, and a soap, and you need a bowl. Different kinds of bowls out there. You can use any bowl from the kitchen, really. You don't need a big one, but anything will do. You can use a big one if you want to. There are specific purpose-made bowls for lathering. A lot of them have patterns or peaks and different kinds of structures in the bottom of the bowl in order to ease the lathering process. This one, for example, is made by Giles Shaving in the UK. It's quite pretty. It's porcelain, and it has these, what do you call them? I don't know what you call them, but stuff that makes it easier and creates more friction when you make the soap. Ridges, edges, whatever they might be called. So you can scoop up soap from your container, if the soap is in a container, and then you smear it into the bowl, into the bottom. Make sure it sticks properly so it doesn't come off in bits too easily. And then you take a moist brush and you start rubbing. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to use the other method, but just to give a bit of an overview. You work the moist brush into the soap. That creates a foam and a dense, thick, quite dry lather. And then you gradually add water to the mix. Add water, agitation with the brush, you use up more soap, and you blend it, and you build the lather to whatever consistency and moisture content you want to. So the more water you add, the wetter is the lather, wetter and heavier really. You want to watch out so that you don't get too many bubbles in the lather, because then it dissipates easily, and the density is not what you're looking for. Other methods include taking a really wet brush with really an excess of water and use that and beat it up, beat the mix up until you get air bubbles out and you get to the consistency you want to get to. Lots of different methods, lots of good videos on how to bowl lather. Now, the intermediate method between this and building the lather on your face is you put the soap into the bowl, you wet the brush, you squeeze out water so it's just moist, and then you move the brush in the bowl until all or most of the soap is in the brush. then you have a loaded brush, and then from there you face lather, which we're going to get to in a second. That's a good way if you don't want to get water into your soap, because you can load the brush, the wet brush, in the soap container, and that's what I'm going to show you very soon. Bear with me. But if you don't want to do that and you want to preserve the soap, you can scoop up a bit of the soap and put it in the bowl, load the brush, and then face lather. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load from the soap container. I'm using Mazagran from Westman Shaving in Portugal, a lovely soap that I've almost used up. So this one I've tub loaded and I've scooped up bits. I've done different things with it. Today I'm going to put a wet brush into the soap. Some people don't like that. They say they ruin the soap. I haven't had that experience. But what is important is that after you're done loading the brush, you want to make sure you rinse out any dirt you might have, which could be, you know, little pieces of skin and stuff like that that's left in the brush, and that contaminates the soap. So what I do is I rinse out properly, I swirl the brush a bit, I rinse again, and then it's pretty clean. I let it dry, I make sure all the water is out, I let it dry for 24 hours without a lid, and then I put the lid on and I'm good to go. And as I said, I haven't had bad experience doing that, but it is important to keep the soap in good condition. Okay, so brush, synthetic knot. I use a lot of synthetic brushes, more and more actually. They're just easy. Okay, face is wet, brush, I squeeze out the water like this so it doesn't drip. It's wet, moist, but it's not soaking. Then I load soap onto the brush. Depending on how hard or soft the soap is, you need to do this for a short or a long time. Soap is quite cheap, I think. So if you load a bit more than you absolutely have to, I think that's okay. That's more than I need, but that is typically how much I load. Okay, so now I just massage this into the beard. And as you can see, hopefully, you know, the consistency now is like dental paste. If I did this with a toothbrush instead of brushing my teeth, it would look similar. So most of the soap is now on my face. Some of it is still left in the brush. That's a bit too dry to shave with. You can do it if you have a good razor, it'll do fine. But if the lather is too dry, it clogs up a safety razor, and it's not as fun if you shave with a straight razor. So I think most people would agree this is too dry. Now, opinions and tastes vary quite a bit when it comes to how wet a lather you prefer. I want it quite wet. You'll find your own way. So now I'm going to gradually add water and work that into the soap on the face until I'm happy. You can add water in different ways. I let the tap run and I quickly put the brush under the tap to add a little bit of water, and then I go about adding it to the face. You got to know what you're doing, because you might be adding too much water, you might be rinsing off soap from the brush that you want in the lather. So a safer way is take a little bit of water and put it on the brush like this. You could have it in a bowl and just dip it a bit. So you want to have control of what you're doing. I've been dipping it quickly under the tap for so long that that's my preferred way to go about it. Actually, that was not enough, so I'll do my little trick. So now you can see it foam up. Bit of water, adding it to the face. So soap plus water plus agitation equals lather. So now there's quite a bit more water into the lather. You can see a difference visually. I can feel it on my face. For my liking, that's still too dry. So I keep adding more water. Now, different soaps create different kinds of lather. Some soaps make a bigger lather. You look like Santa Claus because it's high volume. Other soaps create a low volume, heavier, higher density soap. Different people, different shavers also have different preferences to volume over moisture content, over density. This is a soap that typically makes a rather small but dense lather. So now you can see if you do this, the lather starts to create little peaks. It's peaky. Sorry for having the tap running, by the way. What I've done now, and I can't tell you how much water I added. Actually, some people, and that's probably the most foolproof way, when they build a bowl lather, they weigh the amount of soap they put into the bowl, or you can have a scoop or a spoon where you measure the volume, so you always put the same amount in, and then they actually weigh or measure how much water they add by however they do it. And they know they want to get to a certain ratio, and when they've reached that ratio, they're done. So this lather this is a perfectly good lather. It has quite a bit more moisture than what I started out with. You can almost see it starts to fall down a little bit. That's a sign that you have a heavy lather. No bubbles to speak of. For most people, that's perfectly good. When you have a really good, well-structured lather, you don't have to shave too quickly, because now it's drying, and the longer you take shaving, and in the beginning it'll take a long time shaving, especially with a straight. You could be at it for half an hour. When that happens, you need to reapply your lather. If you have a bowl that contains a perfect lather, you just keep scooping up more with your brush, putting it on your face, and you're good to go. If you're shaving for a long time, like 10, 15, 30 minutes, you're gonna have to add water to the brush if you're face lathering, just to maintain the moisture content that you want. It still looks good, so it's a stable lather, and that's where most people will draw the line. I'm going to add another coating of water, and I work it in. I don't just apply the water. You could, but I make sure I work it every time. Now, another method of adding water, which is a bit more safe, is to use a spray bottle or an atomizer or whatever people have. So you can actually spray water onto your face. If you do, you want to make sure you get a mist rather than a hard spur, because you want to distribute the water evenly. I do it because I move the brush all over the face. But if you have a spray bottle of some kind, you're in control. I'm adding normal tap water. You can add distilled water as well, and people that live in places where the water is very hard, so there's a lot of alkali in it, then it's harder to make a good soap if you have hard water rather than soft water. And then distilled water could be a solution if you're not getting the lathers you want to. Or you could try out distilled water and see what it does. However, if you get used to it, you're probably hooked and you want to continue using it, which is fine. And a lot of people do it all the time. But normally you don't have to. I mean, I've shaved in a lot of different places. I used to travel a lot for work, hard water, soft water, different countries, and I can tell a difference for sure. But if you spend a bit of time building the lather and you adapt to the differences in water, you can get a good lather with tap water, typically. For me, this is good, peaky. Actually, I probably will add another coating of water and work that in before I shave, but that's quite good enough. So let's have a bit of fun. Take the lather out, and you can play with it like this. And this is a good way of finding out what you want. You can see the lather falling down. It's quite heavy and it's very, very creamy. So I'm happy. This is an easy soap to lather. There are harder ones, but why make it difficult? Okay, I'm going to shave now, but shaving and how to shave is for another day, another video. Thanks for watching. You can check out the first video I made, which was about how to choose your equipment, how to choose your razor, your brush, your soap, or at least things to consider when you do. A new video will be coming up and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp. So this is what I do after the shaves. I've got soap residues in here and I got a brush that is full of lather as well. So I rinse out the brush a little bit, get water into the container, I swirl around with the brush, make sure everything is out, leave it upside down for a minute and then I let it dry, as I said, for 24 hours before I put the lid on. Then the brush, really it needs to be clean, properly clean. So I make sure all the lather is out of there. And when you squeeze it afterwards, if you hear well, you can hear you can hear if there's lather left. So I squeeze it out, shake it a little bit. Then I take a towel and I dry it. And I do this with my nice Badger brushes as well. I treat it in a rather unkind way, but I really want to get it dry because by drying it, I get a little bit of whatever lather and dirt is left in there. Then I have this. You don't need to use this, but this is a brush holder. So I put it upside down, let it dry upside down. I've heard that's better to make sure the water doesn't go into the glue, which, you know, theoretically could be bad, but leave it like that until I use it next time.